Okay, so here is a step down. You can see that right there. So I'm standing here being impacted upon by waves of particles, right? They come right through me and they hit my garden. One thing you can always see is these lichens, and they're a reflection of one of the simpler, tougher life forms that can cope in these environments. Even on quite dry stone they can get some water, and with a tough exterior they can survive. Now this is a really beautiful example of the situation that we're all dealing with on nuclear power. This tree has been on the road verge, so it's surrounded by concrete there, but now a garden that's been allowed to just grow a little bit rampant and build up a stratus arrangement. So we're getting higher, we're about 1 metre high, whereas we were mowed low before. So this tree has had cars parked beside it right up to the roots and protecting the trunk. And you see this side of the trunk that's being hit by the electron stream and the proton stream is only just got a little bit of lichen on it because it's swept on this side. This is the morning sun, and if I step back you can see that the mown grass looks like that. Now this has been dressed, so there are dead spots. And it's also had a lot of flick off the vehicles, so that also brings a lot of damage to the ground and dries it out. There's a dead spot there. I don't know if you can see the light on that little bit right in the middle. There's a bit of cake there. And then we build up, so this is afternoon sun, shade from the afternoon sun, building up, and I'm not having the vehicles here anymore, and it's been left to grow. It hasn't been mown, so it builds up, and then you can see that the layer on the ground right under the tree is building up, so that now I would say there might even be a worm under there. So that's a nice gradation from no carbon sequestration essentially to a build up and a pull down of carbon chains, so oxygen production and carbon sequestration. Now if we go into the think of it as a jet stream in a car and the wind. The wind's coming from this direction, and this is the protected zone, almost like a cyclist getting in the lee of the wind and getting protected from the drying effects. Now look at the build-up, and you can see here that we've got the shade effect, and I've been talking about this, that you need to create shade from the photic input of the sun to get a really good build-up. Now here I'm about 1 metre high, and you can see I've let the grass grow, and if I stand beside it I'm over 1 metre. And I did have a spider there, he's just jumped off, but I had a spider web in here, so I've got insects. There was a spider sitting right there and he's jumped off, but that's okay. And down here I have got flowers and insects, and underneath I've got worms, and I've got tiny little insects that the birds can get into. And you can see it gets a little bit dry, and then my build up or my pull down of carbon into photosynthetic units has dropped down, and it drops down and down and down as the swirl of particles from that step down transformer starts to impact and dry the situation out again until I can't build up. Now it's all been left for the same amount of time, it's been watered the same, but this is an effect. And here again we have a build-up because of the effect of a metal pole which is acting as a conductor and is holding moisture and creating an effect which is quite interesting. And here I've put rubbish bins to protect the trunk. And this tree is getting washed from the inside because trees have insects that do a lot better inside if they've got moisture inside the tree, because it gets so dried out. So it's protected in the trunk, and that makes the growth a lot better. You can see that the tree is doing a lot better after the trunk is protected. Now this is a natural situation because I cut that back, unfortunately, and I shouldn't have perhaps. This tree's doing a lot better because it's got grass protecting the trunk, and that creates a humid zone, and that humid zone is very important for insects. Now this is an insect haven, this property now, because I've got so many little flowers everywhere, but under this tree I have put water, and the insects, as you can see, walk on this water. I don't know if you can see that little insect there. And they drink it and bathe in it and aerate in it, and then they go into the centre of the tree, and there they aerate and get oxygen and live in communities. So washing the tree from the inside is an important step in garden maintenance and recovering the whole planet if everybody takes part. Now here we've got bleaching effect on this tree. Do you see the top of this tree is a different colour? You go from green down the bottom where you've got moisture, insects, to bleached on the top. Now I'll zoom in and you can see that this is quite bleached. Now these are hypochlorates. We're in a marine environment and sodium chloride is splitting up, and the water of the plants is creating bleach, which distresses the plant. It peripheralizes it, of course, because that's the safest place, as we do, because our fingertips as well, and our hair goes white because of this effect, because of the splitting of sodium chloride and the creation of bleaches. Now I've got a very nice example of another bleach, but before I do that, the birds can get into that tree after it's been washed, for the simple reason that when you moisturise the tree with water, insects can get in it and birds can get in it, and then they can use it as a leaping point to get across very hot, dry roads and concrete surfaces, which they hate because they dry out the feathers. Thanks very much, nuclear power. It's very rough on birds, very rough on insects. Now this is another aerating concept, wetting a couple of thuya trees, which also do very well in nuclear power situations. If you do that every day, that just helps the insects along the stream, so they can follow the stream of moisture as it dries off these leaves and let it carry them across the garden to this water and then into this tree, which extends their range, and also into this one, which is a feng shui principle, having a bush in the centre of your garden with space around it for insects to go around, but low enough to see out, so if you've got trouble you can see to the street. Not a hedge right in front of your garden so that you can't see an aggressor coming. Now, this one is bleached. Alright, they were planted at the same time around the corner. This one gets a pretty smart snap off this front wall, and then around the corner, same lighting. I don't know if you can see, is a totally different green. This has not been bleached, and here is the plant, so that you can see the flower and the base plant. That's the safe colour because it's on moist soil. I'm washing that every day, and it's got iron. I wet this and let this sublimate, so we have iron in the garden. And this is another concept, to just have the wall humidified so that insects can mark the wall, and some insects put stages of their life cycle attached to walls, but they need to be wet. And they like a little bit of wet soil to get into too, so getting into situations where you can dampen soil for insects and have shaded damp soil for insects. And let some plants grow together so that they can keep moist. I've just been touched by a little moth. I've got so many insects. Look, I've got I don't know whether you can see that little fellow in there.